believed in you. I thought.
Before we reveal the 12 names that will shock you, let me ask you something. What if I told you that some of the smoothest voices you've ever heard, the artists who sang about love, pain, and redemption, never escaped the violence that shaped their music?
You could do no wrong until I.
And what if I told you that for 12 R&B legends, that violence didn't just inspire their art, it ended their lives? Stay with me, because the first name on this list, you've heard their music 1,000 times. But what happened behind closed doors? That story never made it to the radio, and by entry number 7, you'll understand why this documentary needed to be made. Let's go.
No matter how far. Don't worry, baby.
Number 12, Little Willie John.
When you kiss me, fever when you hold me tight.
If you don't recognize that name immediately, you've still heard his influence. This man's voice shaped R&B in the 1950s and 60s.
Fever in the morning.
He gave us Fever before Peggy Lee made it famous. He gave us Need Your Love So Bad before Fleetwood Mac ever touched it. Willie was 5'4", 120 pounds, soaking wet.
Around me, I get a feeling that's so hard to bear.
But when he opened his mouth, giants bowed down. Born in Arkansas in 1937, moved to Detroit as a child. By 14, he was singing in talent shows. By 19, he had a record deal with King Records.
And fever all through the night.
By 20, he was touring with Count Basie and making grown women faint in the aisles. James Brown called him the original soul singer. Marvin Gaye said he studied Willie's phrasing. Stevie Wonder covered his songs.
My eyes light up when you call.
But Willie had a temper, and when he drank, which was often by the early 60s, that temper turned lethal. October 5th, 1964. Willie's performing in Seattle. After the show, he gets into an argument with a man named Kendall Roundtree at a private party.
I'll never use and just believe in what my lips have to say.
The argument turns physical. Willie stabs Kendall to death. He claimed self-defense, said Kendall attacked him first. But witnesses told a different story. They said Willie was drunk, aggressive, looking for a fight.
Fever in the morning.
Willie John was convicted of manslaughter, sentenced to 8 to 20 years at Washington State Penitentiary. He never made it out. May 26, 1968. Willie dies in prison. He's only 30 years old. Official cause of death, heart attack.
You put your arms around me, I get a feeling.
But people who knew him said he died of a broken spirit. But here's what makes this story even darker. Willie's violence wasn't new. His family later admitted he'd been abusive to his wife, Darlene. Jealous, controlling, violent when he didn't get his way.
Hold me tight. Fever.
Darlene stayed quiet while he was alive, because that's what women did in 1964. Little Willie John's voice lives forever on vinyl. But the man behind that voice, he took someone's life and destroyed his own family in the process.
In the morning, fever all through.
And if you think Willie's story is tragic, wait until you hear entry number 11, because this next name was gospel royalty, until the day everything fell apart.
Hold me tight. Fever.
Number 11, Brother Joe May, the Thunderbolt of the Middle West. That's what they called him. And if you ever heard him preach sing in a packed church, you'd understand why.
Oh, yes, oh, he feeds me when I get home.
Joe May wasn't R&B in the traditional sense. He was gospel, but his influence on soul music is undeniable. Sam Cooke studied his delivery. Aretha Franklin's father brought him in to perform at New Bethel Baptist Church.
Oh, I know that he's a budding bearer.
Joe May could make the Holy Ghost move through a congregation like electricity. Born in Macon, Georgia, 1912, started singing in churches as a teenager. By the 1940s, he was recording gospel records and touring the country. His voice could go from a whisper to a roar in the same verse. But at home, Joe May was a different man. His wife, Annie Mae, lived in fear. Joe was controlling, paranoid. He accused her of infidelity constantly.
You're gonna need him, you're gonna need him, you're gonna need him.
And when those accusations boiled over, he used his fists. Annie tried to leave multiple times in the 1950s, but where was she going to go?
Gonna need him, you're gonna need him, you're gonna need him after a while.
A black woman in the South with no money and a husband who knew every pastor in every city. She stayed until she couldn't anymore.
Need him, you're gonna need him, you're gonna need him after.
June 7th, 1960. Annie Mae is found dead in their Chicago apartment. Blunt force trauma to the skull. Joe May claims it was an accident, that she fell during an argument. The police don't buy it, neither does the coroner. But here's where the story gets complicated. Joe May had connections, church connections. He knew bishops, he knew politicians.
Get hungry, and he's a good friend of mine. Yes, he is. And every time I get...
And in 1960 Chicago, those connections mattered. Charges were filed, then mysteriously reduced, then dropped altogether. Joe May never spent a day in jail for Annie's death.
You're gonna need him at the wall.
He continued performing for another decade, continued recording, continued being celebrated as a gospel legend. He died in 1972 of natural causes.
Walk by my side in the time.
Annie Mae was 43 years old when she died. She's buried in an unmarked grave outside Chicago. And the gospel community, they never spoke her name, because protecting the reputation of a man of God was more important than justice for a murdered woman.
The wall, yes, oh.
Entry number 10 will make your blood boil, because this artist had everything: fame, fortune, talent, and he threw it all away in one violent moment.
In the time of storm, he shelters me.
Number 10, Frankie Lymon.
Fall in love. Why do they fall in love?
Why do fools fall in love? You know that song. You've heard it at weddings, oldies stations, movie soundtracks. Frankie Lymon was 13 years old when he recorded it. 13. By 14, he was a superstar. The teenagers were selling out shows across America. Frankie was on American Bandstand. He was making more money than most adults. He was living a dream most kids couldn't even imagine.
Why do birds sing?
But fame at 13 comes with a price. By the time Frankie was 16, he was addicted to heroin. By 18, his career was essentially over. The hits stopped coming. The teenagers broke up. The money dried up. And Frankie cycled through 3 marriages before he turned 25. His first wife was a woman named Elizabeth Waters. They married when Frankie was 20. She was 18. The marriage lasted less than a year. Frankie's drug addiction and violent outbursts destroyed it. His second wife was Zola Taylor from the Platters. That marriage was annulled when it was discovered Frankie had never actually divorced Elizabeth. His third wife was Amira Eagle. They married in 1967, and this is where Frankie's violence escalated to a breaking point. Amira later testified that Frankie beat her regularly, that he was paranoid from the drugs, that he accused her of stealing from him, of cheating on him, of trying to destroy his comeback. December 19th, 1967. Frankie and Amira have a fight in their New York apartment. Neighbors hear screaming, furniture breaking, a woman crying for help. By the time police arrive, Frankie has fled. Amira is hospitalized with a broken nose, cracked ribs, and severe bruising. Frankie is arrested. But before the case goes to trial, something happens that changes everything. February 27th, 1968. Frankie Lymon is found dead on the floor of his grandmother's bathroom. Heroin overdose. He's 25 years old. Amira survives, but she spends the next several decades fighting Frankie's other widows in court over royalties to Why Do Fools Fall in Love?
Why do birds sing?
And here's the cruel irony. That song about young love and heartbreak was written by a boy who grew into a man that didn't know how to love anything except drugs and violence. Frankie Lymon's voice is frozen in time at 13. Sweet, innocent, pure, but the man he became was none of those things. Entry number 9 takes us to Memphis, where a Stax Records legend's life ended in a way that still haunts Soulsville. Up vocals.
And when I get singing my message to me.
Number 8, Bobby Marchan. If you're from New Orleans, you know this name. If you're not, you need to. Bobby was a force of nature, flamboyant, fearless, a vocalist and performer who could command any stage in any room. He sang with Huey Piano Smith and the Clowns in the late 50s.
I want to be your lover, man.
He recorded There's Something on Your Mind in 1960, and it became a New Orleans anthem. Bobby was also openly gay in an era when that could get you killed. He wore makeup. He wore dresses on stage sometimes. He didn't hide who he was. And the New Orleans music scene, as rough and backward as parts of it were, mostly accepted him because his talent was undeniable. But outside the music world, Bobby faced violence constantly. He was jumped multiple times in the 60s and 70s, gay bashed, threatened. But Bobby always survived.
Try to get along with you.
Always came back stronger, until he didn't. September 24th, 1980. Bobby is living in a small apartment in the Trem neighborhood. He's semi-retired from music, but still performs occasionally.
What can I do?
That night, Bobby gets into an argument with a man he'd been seeing, a man whose name was never publicly released. The argument turns physical. Bobby is stabbed 7 times. He bleeds out on his apartment floor. He's 47 years old. The man who killed him was arrested, but the case never went to trial. Witnesses refused to testify. The gay community in New Orleans was terrified of retaliation, and the police, frankly, didn't care much about solving the murder of a flamboyant performer. The charges were dropped. Bobby Marchan's killer walked free. And the city that loved Bobby's music couldn't protect him when he needed it most. Entry number 7 is about to hit you different, because this next artist, you've definitely heard their biggest song, but the tragedy behind it was hidden for 30 years. Number 7, Tammi Terrell. If you've ever been to a wedding, you've heard her voice. If you've ever been in love, you've felt her music. Tammy's voice, paired with Marvin Gaye's, created some of the most beautiful duets in Motown history. Her tone was warm, inviting, joyful. But behind that joy was unspeakable pain. Tammi was born Thomasina Montgomery in Philadelphia, 1945. She started singing as a teenager, signed with James Brown's production company at 17, then moved to Motown in 65. That's where she met David Ruffin. David Ruffin, lead singer of The Temptations, one of the most recognizable voices in R&B history. He was also Tammy's boyfriend, and he nearly killed her, multiple times. Marvin Gaye, who sang with Tammi on all those classic duets, said in interviews years later that Tammi would show up to recording sessions with bruises, black eyes hidden under makeup, split lips. David Ruffin beat Tammi regularly from 1966 to 1967. She tried to leave him multiple times. He'd apologize, promise to change, then do it again. In 1967, Tammi finally ended the relationship for good. But by then, the damage was done. October 14, 1967. Tammi collapses on stage during a performance with Marvin Gaye at Hampton-Sydney College in Virginia. She falls into Marvin's arms mid-song. Doctors discover a brain tumor. For the next 3 years, Tammi undergoes 8 surgeries. The tumor keeps coming back. Her health deteriorates rapidly. March 16, 1970. Tammi Terrell dies. She's only 24 years old. Now here's the part that most people don't know. After Tammy's death, her family and close friends began to suspect that the brain tumor was caused by repeated head trauma. From David Ruffin's beatings, there's a widely circulated story that David hit Tammi in the head with a hammer during one of their fights. Tammy's family never confirmed this publicly, but people who were close to her believe it. David Ruffin denied ever hitting Tammi, denied the hammer story, denied everything until his death in 1991. But Marvin Gaye believed it. He said in multiple interviews that David Ruffin killed Tammi Terrell, not directly, but through years of brutality that weakened her, damaged her, and ultimately contributed to her death. Tammi Terrell's voice was silenced at 24, and one of the most beautiful catalogues in Motown history is stained with the blood of domestic violence. Entry number 6 is going to shock you, because this is one of the biggest legends in soul music history, and what happened on April 1st, 1984 changed music forever. Number 6, Marvin Gaye. The Prince of Soul, the voice of a generation. If you've ever felt heartbreak, you've heard Marvin. If you've ever felt passion, you've heard Marvin. If you've ever questioned what's going on in the world, you've heard Marvin. His catalogue is untouchable. His influence is immeasurable. But Marvin's life was torture. Born Marvin Pence Gaye Jr. in Washington, D.C., 1939. His father, Marvin Gaye Sr., was a minister in the House of God Church, strict, authoritarian, abusive. Marvin Sr. beat his children regularly. He favored Marvin's siblings and treated Marvin with contempt. He mocked Marvin's sensitivity, called him names, told him he'd never amount to anything.
Get up, get up, get up, get up, let's make love.
And that abuse shaped everything Marvin became. By the 60s, Marvin was a Motown superstar, but the trauma never left him.
I got sick this morning.
He struggled with depression, drug addiction, paranoia. His marriage to Anna Gordy fell apart. His second marriage to Janice Hunter was volatile and abusive on both sides.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up.
By the early 80s, Marvin was broke, addicted to cocaine, living in Europe to escape his problems. He eventually came back to the States and moved in with his parents in Los Angeles. That's where it ended. April 1st, 1984, the day before Marvin's 45th birthday. Marvin and his father get into an argument. It's about money, about insurance documents, about all the years of resentment and pain. Marvin's mother, Alberta, tries to intervene. Marvin Sr. shoves her. Marvin Jr. steps in to protect his mother. He's bigger than his father now, stronger. He beats his father badly, then walks away. But Marvin Sr. doesn't let it go.
And it's so good to meet my baby.
He goes to his bedroom, gets a gun, a .38 revolver that Marvin had given him for protection months earlier. He walks into Marvin's bedroom and shoots him, twice, once in the chest, once in the shoulder. Marvin Gaye dies before the ambulance arrives. Marvin Gaye Sr. was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, but the charges were reduced to voluntary manslaughter after doctors determined he had a brain tumor that may have affected his judgment. He was sentenced to 6 years of probation. He never spent a day in prison for killing his son. Marvin Sr. died in 1998. He was 84 years old. And here's the tragedy that haunts everyone who knew Marvin. Some people believe Marvin wanted to die that day, that he provoked his father, that he knew his father had the gun. That it was suicide by proxy. Marvin had attempted suicide before. He talked about death constantly in his final years. But whether it was suicide or murder, the result is the same. One of the greatest voices in music history was silenced by family violence. Marvin Gaye was 44 years old, one day before his 45th birthday. And the man who killed him was the same man who'd been abusing him since childhood. The cycle of violence never broke, it just ended in blood. Entry number 5 is Waiting, and this one involves a murder that rocked the Chitlin circuit. Number 5, Florence Ballard. One of the original Supremes, the group that defined Motown, the group that made Diana Ross a star. But Florence was pushed out in 1967, replaced, discarded, left to fend for herself. She married a man named Tommy Chapman in 1968, and Tommy was a con artist. He took control of Florence's finances, isolated her from her family, and when Florence tried to stand up for herself, he became violent. Friends said Tommy hit Florence, that he controlled every aspect of her life, that he drained what little money she had left from her Motown settlement. By the mid-70s, Florence was broke, living on welfare, struggling to feed her 3 children. February 22nd, 1976. Florence Ballard dies of cardiac arrest. She's only 32 years old. And while Tommy Chapman didn't directly kill her, he destroyed her spirit. He took a woman who once stood on stage with Diana Ross and Mary Wilson and reduced her to nothing. Florence Ballard deserved better. She was discarded by Motown, abused by her husband, and forgotten by an industry that made millions off her voice. Entry number 4 is about a male vocalist whose jealousy turned deadly. Number 4, Johnny Ace. If you've ever heard the song that defined 1950s R&B heartbreak, you've heard Johnny Ace. Johnny Ace recorded it in 1954. It became a massive hit. Johnny was being called the next big thing in R&B, and then he died. December 25th, 1954, backstage at the City Auditorium in Houston. Johnny is playing Russian roulette with a .22 caliber revolver. He puts the gun to his head, pulls the trigger, dead at 25 years old. Now the official story is that it was an accident, that Johnny was showing off, that he didn't think the gun would actually fire. But people who were there tell a different story. Johnny had been drinking. He'd been arguing with his girlfriend, a woman named Olivia. She'd caught him with another woman earlier that day. Johnny was possessive, jealous, and when Olivia threatened to leave him, he spiraled. Some people believe Johnny was trying to scare Olivia, that he was trying to manipulate her by threatening to kill himself. But the gun was loaded, and Johnny Ace became a tragic cautionary tale. But here's what doesn't get talked about. Olivia wasn't the first woman Johnny had abused emotionally. He had a pattern of using suicide threats to control his partners. That Christmas night in Houston, the manipulation backfired. Johnny Ace died, and Olivia lived with the trauma of watching it happen for the rest of her life. Entry number 3 is one of the most painful stories on this list, because this artist's struggle was visible to everyone, but no one could save him. Number 3, Donny Hathaway, one of the greatest voices in soul music history. His ability to blend jazz, soul, gospel, and classical music into something completely unique made him a genius. Donny's talent was otherworldly, but Donny struggled with mental illness, paranoid schizophrenia, and in the 70s there wasn't much help available. Donny was married to Dolores Hathaway. They had 2 daughters, and Dolores tried to protect Donny, tried to get him treatment, tried to keep him stable, but Donny's episodes were getting worse. He believed people were trying to kill him. He heard voices. He'd disappear for days. And during his manic episodes, Donny became violent. Dolores later admitted that Donny had hurt her during his breakdowns. Not intentionally, not out of malice, but out of paranoia and fear. She stayed because she loved him.
Sweeter than sweeter.
Because their daughters needed him. Because leaving a mentally ill spouse in 1979 carried its own stigma.
Time with the hearts of love.
January 13, 1979. Donny Hathaway is found dead on the sidewalk below his room at the Essex House Hotel in New York City. 15 floors up, ruled a suicide. He was 33 years old. Dolores never remarried. She spent the rest of her life preserving Donny's legacy while quietly carrying the trauma of their final years together. Donny Hathaway didn't mean to hurt anyone, but mental illness, untreated and misunderstood, created violence nonetheless. Entry number 2 will break your heart. Because this woman's voice was one of the purest ever recorded, and she died trying to escape. Number 2, Phyllis Hyman. That voice, God, that voice. Deep, rich, vulnerable, powerful. Phyllis could sing a phone book and make you feel something, but Phyllis's life was marked by pain. She struggled with depression and bipolar disorder for most of her adult life. She struggled with addiction, and she struggled with men who saw her vulnerability as something to exploit.
You should be ashamed.
Phyllis was married once to Larry Alexander. The marriage lasted only 2 years, from 1979 to 1981.
I hope you had your fun.
Friends said Larry was emotionally abusive, that he controlled Phyllis, that he weaponized her mental health struggles against her.
Come by these days.
After the divorce, Phyllis never fully recovered. She poured her pain into her music, but off stage, she was drowning. June 30th, 1995.
Don't you know I was loyal to you?
Hours before she's supposed to perform at the Apollo Theater, Phyllis Hyman is found dead in her New York apartment. Suicide by overdose of barbiturates and alcohol. She left a note that said, "I'm tired, I'm tired." Phyllis Hyman was 45 years old, and while Larry Alexander didn't kill Phyllis directly, people who loved her believed that the emotional abuse she suffered in that marriage contributed to the depression that eventually took her life. Phyllis Hyman deserved better. She deserved love. She deserved peace. She deserved to grow old. She got none of those things. We're down to number 1, and this story has been buried for over 50 years. Until now. Number 1, Dolores Mohawk, Sam Cooke's first wife.
But man, you ought to see him go, twisting the night.
You don't know that name, but you should. Dolores was Sam Cooke's first wife. They married in 1953 before Sam became a superstar, before the crossover success.
They're twisting, and everybody.
Dolores was with Sam when he was still singing with the Soul Stirrers, when he was still just a gospel singer with a dream. But as Sam's fame grew, the marriage fell apart. Sam was unfaithful, constantly. He had women in every city.
Everybody's still all right. Would you put your hands together for me? Yeah.
And when Dolores confronted him, he'd gaslight her, tell her she was crazy, tell her she was lucky to be with him. The emotional abuse escalated to physical violence. Friends from that era said Sam hit Dolores, that she'd show up to church events with bruises, that she was afraid of him. They divorced in 1957, and Dolores tried to move on. She remarried, tried to build a new life, but the trauma never left.
find the young and old, twisting the night away.
August 31st, 1959. Dolores Mohawk dies in a car accident in Fresno, California. She loses control of her vehicle and crashes into a truck.
Make me feel good. Ha! And man, you ought to see her go.
She was only 29 years old. Now, the accident was ruled just that, an accident. But people who knew Dolores said she'd been struggling with depression since the divorce, that she'd been drinking more, that she was self-destructive. And some people whispered that maybe the crash wasn't an accident at all. That maybe Dolores, broken by years of abuse and abandonment, had given up. We'll never know for sure. But what we do know is this: Dolores Mohawk's story has been erased from Sam Cooke's legend.
Chicks are moving up and back. Oh.
When people talk about Sam, they talk about his genius, his voice, his impact on civil rights, his tragic death.
Man, there ain't nothing like twisting the night away.
But they don't talk about Dolores. They don't talk about the woman he abused, the woman he discarded, the woman who died 5 years after escaping him, still carrying the weight of what he'd done.
I don't know, but man, you ought to see him go twisting.
Dolores Mohawk deserved better. She deserved to be remembered as more than a footnote in someone else's story.
They're twisting.